Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Sonic Yoda from SEGADriven here. I just wanted to have a quick chat about Sonic Utopia and the fan game community in general. Now, Sonic Utopia came out during Sonic Amateur Games Expo. Sorry we didn't get to cover it during the event, but it came out very late, and I really sort of burnt myself out a little bit because we did cover quite a lot of the games on at this year's show. But I just wanted to talk about this because it's been sort of hailed as this weird sort of, there's been some really overly dramatic headlines like Sonic fans step up to the plate to make the Sonic game you've always wanted and stuff like that. And I really dislike it when that happens, which is, it really undermines what the Sonic fan gaming community is all about. They're not here to show Sega how it's done or, make them look bad in any sort of way. People develop Sonic fan games because they like Sonic the Hedgehog, and they just wanted to add something back, They just wanted to give something back to the community, back to Sega for, giving them something that they enjoy, These projects are passion projects. There's no sort of vicious sort of attitude involved in making these sort of things. It is very much a case of, I wouldn't mind playing a Sonic game that was open world, so I'm going to give that a go. And that's all there is to it, the developer did not do this out of spite or any sort of, mean-spirited way towards Sega because they feel let down after so many years of Sonic games that haven't delivered what they want. It's just a case of they wanted to see what this would be like, and they gave it a go. And for the most part, Sonic Utopia is a really good example of how this could work. I really enjoy the roller coaster sort of nature of all the loops and things. I think they've got a really good idea down with putting the camera sort of above Sonic when you go around a loop. A lot of the 3D Sonic fan games have a bit of a hard time trying to figure out where they should put the camera when you're going around loops or moving upside down in pipes and things like that. And it can be disorientating, it can make the game a bit unwieldy, but I think by putting the camera above, this sort of eliminates that really well, and I was quite impressed how such a simple design feature can make things a lot easier to play. Now, what I want to talk about regarding Sonic Utopia as well is this isn't perfect, as much as everybody's hailed this as a really good example of how Sonic can work in 3D, it isn't the best example. Don't get me wrong. There's some great work that's been done here. I had a lot of fun with it, and it's just a nice little area to muck around in. There's lots of secret areas to discover, and it rewards exploration. But the big issue with making Sonic work in 3D is you have to think about the demographic that plays Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic the Hedgehog has always been aimed at a younger audience, or an all ages audience, and therefore it needs to be easy to pick up for all ages. Now, you might shout at me and say, well, Mario's adapted to 3D perfectly and there's been no issues there. Well, the difference between Mario and Sonic is the pace of the games. Mario is a slower paced game, and as a result, the camera doesn't need to do as much. It can stay sort of fixed or just float above the action in a nice, reasonable distance and show you most of what's happening. With a fast-paced game like Sonic the Hedgehog, the camera is always going to have a problem keeping up with where you're supposed to be, where's the optimal place to point it. And what this Utopia team have done is given you free reign over the camera. So the right stick basically allows you to move the camera around, which is fine if you understand game controllers and things, and you've been playing games for a long time and you're seasoned and well versed in how to use the right stick as a second camera. But a younger audience is not going to pick that up very well, and it's going to be very difficult for them to adapt. Using the right stick for a camera is very much a established, advanced sort of mechanic that people who have played games for a long time will get to grips with, which is why it's only really used in things like first-person shooters, which are aimed at an older audience. Now, I think for what the team developing Sonic Utopia have done here, it totally works well enough, and that's fine. But if you think about actually appealing to the core demographic of Sonic fans, it's going to be a very difficult thing for them to control. And I can imagine sitting a 6-year-old down in front of this is just going to end in frustration and tears. And that's essentially the things you need to avoid, which is why Sega have had such a hard time developing 3D Sonic games, because how do you make that work for a younger audience? You've either got to have a fixed camera or a camera that you just aren't in control of, that needs to find its optimal position so that it can show you the action well. Even I was having difficulty with the right stick on this. I often found it was a bit twitchy, and I kept moving it really close to Sonic and I couldn't see where I was going. It's not perfect by any means. The other thing that's not particularly perfect about Sonic Utopia is its use of space. Now, I appreciate that this is an open world game, and to pack in lots and lots of stuff for you to do is always going to be a harder job. And I think they have made a pretty decent decision in making sort of like the walkways and things quite wide to allow you to compensate for the fact that you're moving around in 3D. But it does mean that there are very, very large areas where there's absolutely nothing in them whatsoever, and it's dull, you know? Those things shouldn't be there. I appreciate they're going for an open world thing, so that's always going to be an issue, but I feel like if this is your first Sonic Utopia is essentially a tech demo, right? So it should be proving how well it can work, how well its own mechanics can work. And having loads of just dead space is not going to be a very good example. It's not going to be a very good proof of concept, unfortunately. And it does mean that I found myself just wandering around big areas and wondering why the hell they were there. Just focus on what's enjoyable and what's fun. You know, like the fun parts of Sonic Utopia are running around loops and corkscrews and basically just, you know, not being limited to what you can interact with. There are tons of stage gimmicks and things to muck around with, and you can attack them in any direction you want, and it's a fun time. But I feel like the use of space in Sonic Utopia is probably not the best. There's too much dead space, just nothing happening, and it feels very aimless a lot of the time, you know? From what I've been told, there is an end to this Sonic Utopia sort of tech demo. There is an actual checkpoint at the end where you can finish the stage and that's your lot. But because of the open world nature of it, it's incredibly difficult to figure out where that is. I was following checkpoint posts for quite a while, but at one point I must have doubled back on myself by accident and found myself going back towards checkpoints I'd already hit. And I couldn't figure out which way I needed to go from there on. That's very confusing, you know, like this space is very, very large, and it doesn't, and I don't think platform games suit open world particularly well. Again, this is all highly irrelevant because this is not the point of Sonic Utopia. Sonic Utopia is a tech demo. Someone came up with the idea of making an open world Sonic game, and they tried to do it as best as they can. It doesn't hit all the time, but it does work a lot of the time, you know? This is a fun little idea, certainly worth checking out. Unfortunately, I don't know if the download link is available anymore now that Sage has finished, but as a proof of concept, this is a cool idea, but that's all it is, you know? It's not going to reinvent the wheel. It's not going to be the thing that changes Sonic for the better in the future. It was just a fan project that some people wanted to do for the fun of it, and that's all it should ever be. They weren't trying to prove Sega wrong, they weren't trying to make Sega look bad, and that's never, ever the goal of the Sonic fan game community. They just want to give something back to a franchise that they love.